क्या?
अरोड़ा मरोड़ा थूक लगा के घुसेड़ा।
यार ये सब क्यों नहीं सेंसर किया इन लोगों ने?
हिम्मत है तो पूछो।
Imagine conceptualizing a story for years of your life and finally getting backed by a production house to fund the project.
मैं सिर्फ एक फिल्म मेकर जो इतनी दूर से आया था यहाँ पे सिर्फ फिल्म बनाने। हम मुझे नहीं मालूम था कि हम लोग को इतने पहाड़ खोदने पड़ते हैं।
You take months and in some cases even years to put your idea on the screen, but days before the release, someone in a white kurta and blue vest politely asks you to cut what's effectively half of the film in order to get a green light for release. Must be sad, isn't it? Censor board in India is a little tricky thing to be talking about. For starters, it's not censor board, it's Central Board of Film Certification. Get your facts right. They're not even supposed to censor anything. Just give the films a certification and let it go. And secondly, they don't do that very nicely, do they?
हम हर तरह की फिल्म देखना चाहते हैं, हर तरह की फिल्म की ऑडियंस है, हर तरह की फिल्म ऑडियंस को वो राइट दो ना रिजेक्ट करने का।
In reality, it's a gamble for filmmakers trying to make anything politically or socially against the status quo in fear that their films might go under the scissors just before their actual release. Hello guys, welcome to Filmanter, and for today's list, we'd be taking a look at these exact instances when movies got ridiculous amounts of cuts suggested by the not so much of a censor board for a clean release. We won't be counting movies that literally got banned outright though. Yes, that is a real thing here. And we won't be counting sex comedies as well because, well, I said so. With that out of the way, this is Amir and here are 5 Bollywood movies with the maximum number of cuts by the CBFC. Number 5, Lipstick Under My Burqa in 2016 with 27 cuts. Alankrita Shrivastava's 2017 dark comedy Lipstick Under My Burqa talked about sexual fantasies in women coming from orthodox Indian backgrounds, and it did so in the boldest of ways possible. So it was already a no-brainer to expect the movie would have a hard time seeing the light of day in a country where these elements are still classified as taboo. Revolving around the lives of 4 women at different stages of their lives, what the makers probably didn't see coming was a straight-up ban the movie would initially receive from ever releasing in India, citing contagious sexual scenes, whatever that means, abusive words, and audio pornography. The CBFC in January 2017 refused to certify the film as a whole, calling it a sensitive touch about one particular section of the society. The decision was later appealed to the Film Certification Appellate Tribunal, or FCAT, by the producers, and a voluntary number of 16 cuts was made by the makers, followed by 11 additional cuts suggested by the FCAT committee for the film to finally receive an A certificate by the CBFC for a much-needed clean chit to release in the country. Lipstick Under My Burqa, which released in July 2017 after a 6-month fiasco surrounding its certification, saw mostly a number of elaborate intimate scenes getting chopped off from its theatrical version, which is probably why the director was still quite optimistic with the censored version, saying that the final cuts made do not hamper the narrative or dilute the film's essence in any way. Number 4, Heather in 2014 with 41 cuts. Although an adaptation of Shakespeare's Hamlet, Vishal Bhardwaj's Heather contextually had much more to offer as a film than its predecessors Maqbool and Omkara, which were more like out-and-out straight adaptations. Heather, on the other hand, drove away from its source material quite a lot for a more political stance about the state of affairs in the highly disputed area of Kashmir. That fact in itself would raise many eyebrows, and that it totally did. Heather went through the scrutiny of the CBFC quite aggressively before its release and even managed to get the Allahabad High Court involved for what was touted as its messaging against national interest. The movie eventually received a total of 41 cuts, a number that has since been contested by the CBFC officials, its since suspended CEO Rakesh Kumar, and Bhardwaj himself for how many of these cuts were officially suggested versus the ones the makers made voluntarily. So yes, the movie divided the CBFC officials amongst themselves as well. It should be noted though that most of the cuts the film reportedly went through were graphic in nature, which is saying quite a lot for a film as violent as Heather. The scenes that were cut reportedly included a truck being loaded with dead bodies, a close-up shot of an appendix surgery, and believe it or not, a wire being inserted into a naked man. Damn! I feel like we need to thank CBFC for this one. Number 3, Kala Kandi in 2018 with 73 cuts. Saif Ali Khan's sudden jump into experimental cinema towards the second half of his career saw the actor go through some of the most unconventional projects no established actor would dare getting themselves into. And one such film was this 2018 dark comedy written and directed by Akshat Verma, who had previously written the 2011 dark comedy Delhi Belly. A karmic tale about love, crime, and life, the film follows a handful of independent storylines over a single night, and just like the director's earlier work, becomes quite explosive with its portrayal of intimacy, violence, and most importantly, language. And you know what that means? CBFC. Kala Kandi was originally slated for a September 2017 release, but the makers got cornered at the last minute by the certifications board for a whopping number of 73 cuts that effectively took all the foul language away from the entire film, a film that was crucially marketed on that exact aspect. Thankfully, the makers of Kala Kandi 2 reached out to the AFCAT committee after their favorable treatment of films like Lipstick Under My Burqa, and the committee, to their credit, understood the importance of language in the movie. Upholding only 3 of the original 73 cuts suggested by the CBFC, the committee gave the movie a green light for theatrical release in almost its original form. Number 2, Urtha Punjab in 2016 with 94 cuts. Director Abhishek Chaube's Urtha Punjab was produced by CBFC's all-time favorite Anurag Kashyap. That is sarcasm for those who didn't get it. It's easily the most talked about censorship row surrounding a film in recent memory, as the controversy found its way to mainstream media in 2016. Urtha Punjab was a movie that talked about the ever-growing problem of drug abuse in the populous state of Punjab, uncovered through 4 characters in different occupations. The film was naturally a social commentary, which is exactly why it became suspiciously fishy when it came under the CBFC's radar for the most absurd reasons possible. While some of their suggested cuts did make some sense, including close-up scenes of people injecting themselves, other suggestions like bleeping out names of various cities and the entire state of Punjab from the film rubbed the makers the wrong way. What followed was the makers reaching out to the Mumbai High Court and bringing the then CBFC chairman Pehlaj Nehlani under the bus for his own political affiliations, especially considering that Punjab was due for state elections by the time this movie was to be released. Urtha Punjab finally got a green light for release with help from the court, and that too with only 1 of the 94 cuts being upholded. That's when pop star Tommy Singh takes a piss on his fans. It's in the trailer, watch it there if you want to. And number 1, Miss Lovely in 2012 with 157 cuts. The number of cuts this film originally received was enough to create a whole new film by itself. And well, there are reasons. Released in 2012, Miss Lovely, starring Nawazuddin Siddiqui of all people, was set in the lower depths of Bombay's C-grade film industry, following the devastating story of 2 brothers who produced pornographic horror films in the mid-1980s. First off, you'd be naive to expect such a film even getting a theatrical run domestically, let alone with an A certification. And that's what director Asham Ahluwalia quite openly confessed to. Miss Lovely was actually meant to be a documentary for the international markets and not a film, but it was later turned into a feature-length film, but again only for the international festivals. The movie was never supposed to be released in India, and the 157 suggested cuts only strengthened that belief. It was only its strong word of mouth in the festival circuit and a year worth of back and forth between the producers and the CBFC that the department, without any external influence, passed the film with just 4 cuts along with an adult certification. Guys, that's quite the feat for a department that constantly finds itself at our mercy for its decisions compromising freedom of speech in a democratic country. And that too for a provocative drama that was Miss Lovely. And there you have it, guys. 5 Bollywood movies with the maximum number of cuts suggested by the CBFC. Did we miss any other noteworthy films from our list? Let us know in the comment section down below. We've tried making a short film called Date Night. It's already released on the director's channel, so don't forget to take a look. It's a horror, guys. We want to know how we did. I've pinned the link in the comment section down below, so click on it as soon as you're done listening to me, and of course, enjoy. With that out of the way, have a safe week ahead. My name is Amir, and I will see you soon.